Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The mayor is out of town. I'm acting mayor during this session, and I will now call the meeting to order. It's 6:30, and we will begin our meeting with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we ask you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The regular council meetings that are coming up are Tuesday, December 3rd, Tuesday, December 17th, and these are both at 6:30 p.m. We have two work sessions scheduled coming up. One is Tuesday, November 26th, and Tuesday, December 10th, both at 6:30 p.m. The Truth in Taxation meeting schedule for taxes payable in 2014 are as follows. There's a budget work session Tuesday, November 26th at 6:30 p.m. And on Tuesday, December 3rd, the council will adopt the final tax levy, and this will be at 6:30 p.m. The public is invited to comment at all Truth in Taxation meetings. Next, we have citizens' comments, and this is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item not on the printed agenda or about an issue that is not being addressed. Citizens' comments period is not the forum to lobby an item that is in the application process and will be considered at a future meeting. Is there anyone in the audience who has something to say about an item not to be discussed later? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the additions to the final agenda. Are there any additions to the final agenda? Council?
No, thank you.
None from staff, Madam.
Now we will move to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item may be removed from the consent agenda and will be discussed and considered separately. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item to be removed? Does staff wish an issue?
None from staff,
Madam
Madam.
Council?
Thank you.
Then I would like a motion for the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Keeley and second by Councilmember Coughlin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. And the motion passes. We'll move on to the regular agenda. And this is an application for Midwest Bank for a planned unit development agreement and preliminary final plat to be known as River Valley Commons, Second Edition, for a 43-lot subdivision, considering findings of fact, ordinance, planned unit development agreement, and development contract. And presenting tonight is Mr. Chris Slania, our city planner. Mr. Slania.
Good evening, Council. This is an application that's been in front of the Council a number of times in the past. Sorry if I can get to the right slideshow. You may recall the Council had a work session on this back in April of 2013. There were discussion to some tweaks of the orientation of these units, and the Council was generally supportive of the revisions proposed. The Planning Commission also saw this in July of 2013. There were additional improvements requested. The applicant took some time to make those revisions and adjusted exterior elevations, and now back to the Planning Commission and City Council. Let me give you an aerial photo of the site. Again, this is the Midwest Bank property, also known as River Valley Commons. 122nd Street, curves along the south side of the property. Parkwood Drive is off to the west. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their November 13th meeting. Public hearing was held. There were no comments by the public at that meeting, although there was communication provided to staff, and I believe the council's received communication also. The image that you're seeing here was the previous plat of 2005. These were condo units. You can see there were fewer buildings, but a higher number of units. In 2005, this site was actually approved at 68 units. An amendment came through in 2011. That dropped to 55 units, and the proposal in front of the council this evening is for 43. The key component I'd like to point out is with the original approval in 2005, there were many units, many buildings that had 4, 5, even 6 units within that building. In this situation, the development is broken up quite a bit more, help provide a little more character, a little more green space to the site. In this design, there's only one 4-unit building. That's located right in this area behind the fire station. The balance of the site is comprised of only 2 and 3-unit buildings. As requested by the Planning Commission and staff, the applicant did make adjustments to this rear elevation. This would be what's facing 122nd Street, what's facing the neighborhood. These are 10 by 10 overhangs over an exterior patio. Planter boxes also exist around the base. The second floor master bedroom is cantilevered out to give it some three-dimensional characteristics. The applicants incorporated different siding materials, board and batten, as well as horizontal siding to help break up that design. Just to keep this in perspective, this is what was originally submitted this summer. I believe staff and the Planning Commission felt this is a great improvement. As indicated in the materials, the Planning Commission was supportive of the request. The vote was 3 in favor, 1 against, recommending approval of the plat and the PUD amendment. There are 6 conditions that were included in the recommendation. Council, I will stand for any questions you have. We also have Brian Tutt with TC Homes. Brian is the builder on the project. There is a purchase agreement with Midwest Bank for the property. I believe we can answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Mr. Slania?
Looks good.
I just want to make sure you're satisfied, just to make clear you're satisfied that the landscaping is sufficient. I see there's a tree reduction on one hand, but then they're adding more evergreen trees on the other.
Correct. Council, that's a great discussion point. The number of trees is a deviation. The applicant is increasing the size of the trees that are going in. So right away we'll have larger sizes than we typically would.
And I have a follow-up question to that. I had an inquiry from a citizen who had been following this with the Planning Commission, and she had some concern that because they are putting in large trees, which is really quite wonderful, that she wanted to know if there would be some assurance that if those trees failed to thrive, that they would be replaced. Is that in the agreement?
That is in the development contract with the city, and then also the builder has a separate agreement with his landscape contractors as they move forward. 8 feet is typical. City staff usually doesn't like to see trees much larger than that because they typically don't do well in a transplant situation.
Okay, fine. Well, thank you, and I think it would be nice to hear from Mr. Tutt if you'd like to come up. Please come up here and give us, if you'd start by giving us your name and address for the record.
Brian Tutt with TC Homes, 13501 Balsam Lane, Dayton, Minnesota.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Tutt. And we have seen a lot of attempts to develop this site, and this looks like the best one I've seen yet.
Good.
Thank you for your work with the planning staff. It certainly looks much more appealing than we originally saw it, so thank you.
Good, yeah, we're very excited about it.
Good. So would you like to tell us about the plans and how you want to go forward with this?
Absolutely, yeah. The idea is that these are townhomes, but we want them to be larger townhomes, so that they appeal to people that maybe are coming from a single-family home or are first-time home buyers. So I mean, they're 2,100 square feet, 3 bedrooms with a loft. So they're larger. They're not the typical 1,500, 1,600, which you get a lot of stairs, very boxy anyway. So we spent a lot of time on the design, and we're very excited about it.
Very good. And when do you expect to be starting on the project?
We are hopeful that we're still able to get a foundation this year. I'm not sure that's going to happen. It really depends on the weather. These being slab on grade, we're sensitive to the frost anyway, so we're hopeful to have a model up sometime in the early spring. So,
Any other questions?
Just want to compliment the change in the exterior.
Okay.
Dramatic changes, and definitely in line with what we were hoping for. And so thank you for being open and flexible and investing in those upgrades. They look great.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chris and the rest of the staff were great to work with. So,
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Tutt.
okay, thank you.
Council?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Coughlin makes a motion, seconded by Keeley. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion passes. Next, we have our regular meeting of the Economic Development Authority, and I will turn the meeting over to the Economic Development Authority President, President Keeley.
Thank you, Ms. Acting Mayor. I'll call to order the meeting of the Economic Development Authority. Let the minutes show that Vice President Coughlin and Commissioner Sherry are present. First item on our workload here tonight is to approve minutes from our September 17th and our October 22nd meetings. Any questions about the minutes? Comments? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vice President Coughlin, seconded by Commissioner Sherry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. On our regular agenda tonight, first up, we have a public hearing, adopt a resolution approving a purchase and redevelopment contract between the Burnsville Economic Development Authority and NLD Holdings 2 LLC. Mr. Skip Nienhaus is our presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Economic Development Authority owns land in the heart of the city, approximately 1.75 acres. That land is valued by the county at $457,000. Based on the original price of the 6.4 acres of the AAA purchase, of which this 1.75 is the last remnant, the value of that land would come out to $504,807. The city had the parcel appraised in 2012. That appraisal came in at $865,000. And the previous proposed developer also had the parcel appraised last year, and their appraisal was at $737,000. The previous developer, Akoda Hospitality LLC, has decided not to move forward with the project, but I am happy to inform the EDA that we have a new developer, NLD Holdings, that has emerged. Their proposal for the purchase is very similar to the prior proposal. They are offering a purchase price of $503,600. They will also pay for construction of 14 parking stalls on Travelers Trail. Those stalls will remain public parking and remain under the control of the city. They will close by July 15th of next year on the purchase, commence construction by July 31st of next year, and complete construction by June 30th of the following year. The city has a few responsibilities under that purchase and redevelopment agreement, or the EDA, I should say. We are agreeing for an expansion of the existing parking deck. That expansion will be public parking. There will be no designation of stalls for the hotels similar to what exists right now. The city will pay some special assessments that are against the property, and there is no public assistance in this proposal going forward. This is a schematic of our heart of the city development. The AAA site is right here where the hotel will go. The 14 parking stalls would be here. Here is our parking deck, and the lighter gray area is the second level. We would be looking at expanding that second level as part of the contract. This shows a schematic of what the site plan would look like on the parcel. As you can see, we're limiting the parking stalls on site and maximizing the development of the parcel. The proposed development will be a Hilton Garden Inn, 100 rooms with conference rooms, restaurants, a fitness center, an indoor pool, and as I mentioned, 55 on-site parking spaces. The hotel is consistent with the HOC zoning. The hotel has been a long-desired development on that site. The plan maximizes the site with the 55 stalls, and then the use of the shared parking has been a goal in the heart of the city so that we can maximize density on the parcels. The EDC reviewed this at their meeting last Thursday evening and recommended approval. Staff also recommends approval. This is a public hearing. We have a representative of the developer here. If you have questions, staff would take questions. We also have a representative from our EDA legal firm if you have questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Nienhaus. Appreciate the presentation. Any questions from the rest of the commission?
No, I just would like, if I may.
Comment? You may.
Compliment staff on all the work you've done with us. It's been quite a roller coaster ride, and you've hung on, and looks like you're coming to the end. Thank you.
Commissioner?
Great job.
Thank you. Well, I echo that. I mean, I was finding myself holding back from clapping, seeing confirmation that it's going to be a Hilton Garden Inn, seeing a color rendering of the building and the property. What an exciting moment. We're kind of going through it. This is second time around. So we get to get excited about this for the second time, but I'm thrilled. Haven't changed my opinion. I think this property, the development of this property, the addition of a hotel, a Hilton Garden Inn, is going to greatly enhance our city in many different ways, and the businesses around it, the inventory of hotel rooms. Nothing but good comes from this, and I'm really glad that this particular group stepped forward to essentially take the place of the prior group and acquire the property and continue this great project. So thank you for that. And I'd love to hear from the representative of the developer if they'd like to come up, and then after they're done, I'll open up the public hearing.
Good evening, Council. My name is Allison Kern with NLD Holdings, and we greatly appreciate your enthusiasm and support for the project, and we look forward to working with the city. And
is there anything else you'd like to plug about the project coming from your perspective? You have the mic and the camera. That's all you
I know. Actually, nothing in particular. I think that we've been working with staff on the details of the purchase agreement and the city approval work ahead of us, but I think that the development is well laid out for it. The enhancement of the shared parking garage that's already been committed for the project is a great endorsement, so
wonderful.
We're looking forward to getting to work.
And everything seems to be on schedule. The plan's construction July, I believe.
Correct.
Of next year. Well, we're excited.
All right.
This is a good thing for the city. Thank you for partnering with us on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a public hearing. I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would anyone from the audience like to come up? If you would, please come up to the microphone and the podium there where Ms. Hearns was at, and state your name and address, and we're welcome and open-eared for your comments. Anyone? We're not that threatening, are we? I mean, really? Okay. With that, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
I wish I could have done that. Commissioner Sherry has made a motion. Vice President Commissioner Coughlin has seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against? And the motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Nienhuis. Thank you very much, staff. Great job. Thank you to the developer to come forward. We have some exciting things to look forward to. Thank you. Our next item on our agenda is, let me get back to it. This is the one bad thing of a small screen jumping around. There we go. Second item is adopt a resolution approving a contract for private redevelopment between the Burnsville Economic Development Authority and United Properties Residential, LLC. And again, Mr. Skip Nienhuis has our presentation.
Thank you, Mr.
sir.
Chair. The project before you is an Applewood Point Senior Cooperative. It's a project with United Properties Residential, LLC, and they are seeking financial assistance to offset some acquisition cost. Again, our schematic of Heart of the City, this proposal would be down here in what is the remnant parcels of the Uptown Landing condominium projects, the new CVS pharmacy over here, Burnsville Parkway, Nicollet. Couple of pictures of other Applewood Point developments that have been done by United Properties, obviously a very nice and upscale development project. Schematic of the layout of how it would fit in that remnant lot that is left over, and we are looking at 50 to 53 units that would be on the lot. The parcel is 1.8 acres. As I mentioned, it's part of the Uptown Landing project. There were to be 2 more 37-unit condo buildings on that property, so there would have been 3 condo buildings. The project basically stalled out after the construction of the first condo building. This would be a 50 to 53 unit senior owner-occupied cooperative units, 4-story building, underground parking with some on-site visitor parking and overflow parking for those residents that have more than 1 car. They are looking at an average price of $195 a square foot, which means the average unit will go for $283,000. The project has almost $14 million worth of development cost involved. They also are going to have to pay for delinquent taxes and delinquent special assessments that exist on the property. The current owner of the property has been unwilling to pay those delinquencies, and United Properties Residential will be paying them when they acquire the property. Because of those delinquencies and due to the fact that this project has less units than is typical in a normal Applewood Point development project, they are asking for some financial assistance to meet the gap. They are looking at some TIF. The TIF district in Heart of the City will expire in 2019, so we're only talking about a very short 4-year window. The eligible cost available on the project are a little over $1 million. And the TIF that we anticipate over those 4 years is $338,440. So the TIF is very reasonable considering the amount of eligible costs that are there. It will be on a pay-go basis, so they will only receive the TIF after they have paid their taxes, and it will only be the increment that is available from those taxes. Housing is not considered a business subsidy under the state statute, so we do not need a public hearing on this. Basic details of the development contract. The property acquisition will occur by July 1st of next year. Construction will commence by April of the following year, with construction completion by April of 2016. And it does allow for TIF on a pay-go basis up to $550,000 in the contract. A couple of notes for the EDA. Due to the delinquencies of tax payment on the parcels, there is the possibility of the parcel actually going up for auction next year. Should it go up for auction, that would negate the contract that currently exists between the EDA and the Uptown Landing that calls for owner-occupied condominiums. There is a PUD on the property that does call for condos, and that would stay in place if there was an auction. If we move forward with this and the project does not get built, United Properties would be allowed to sell the land for any available land use. However, the PUD that is there would remain in force. So we would still have either the condo PUD or the amended PUD for the senior cooperative. The residential use does fit in with the heart of the city. This would obviously return the parcel to the tax base. The project would ensure an acceptable use of the parcel. It would be owner-occupied cooperatives. The EDC reviewed this at their September EDC meeting and recommended approval. Staff also recommends approval. There is a representative of the Applewood Point Development here. Obviously, our EDA attorney is here, and staff would also stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Nienhaus. Commissioners, any questions for Skip? Thank you very much. I would like to hear from the Applewood Point developer if he's available to make some comments. Would you state your name and your address for the record?
Sure. It's Alex Hall with United Properties, 3500 American Boulevard in Bloomington, Boulevard West.
I don't have any specific questions. I really would like it if you would like to just fill in the blanks and maybe talk a little bit about, from your perspective, this particular project and how it fits, where you have some other projects similar to it, and why you chose to come into Burnsville.
Sure. We've built 7 senior co-ops to date, and they are the age is 62 and over is the cutoff for no one younger than 62. We've built close to 600 units now. They're 100% sold. The last 2 we did, we just finished a 41-unit addition up in Roseville, and those were sold out about 5 months prior to finishing construction. We just got approval for our 3rd Bloomington location 2 weeks ago from City Council. We'll be breaking ground in spring on that. So what we're seeing is a real, very, very strong demand in the senior community for our co-op. It is for sale housing. The legal structure prohibits renting, so renting is not an issue. It does need to be owner occupied as well. And what we have is a very active senior. The average age is 70, and they're looking for, they're really looking for amenities. They're looking for, they would prefer not to get in their car and have to drive. And this has been on our radar screen, this area, for a couple of years, probably 2 or 3 years, and finally had the opportunity to look at this parcel. And with the drugstore and all the restaurants and everything adjacent here, as well as the public arts and dance music location here, it just seems like an absolutely perfect location. We've held 4 information meetings so far. We have close to 30 reservations for the site, so we're well on our way, and excited to add an Applewood Point down in Burnsville here.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions for
Yes.
Skip?
Well, I saw the write-up that your facility in Woodbury got in the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Very nice. Very nice. And it was interesting to see how you do locate in suburbs, and because you realize that these are desirable places for seniors. And I was thinking, too, it's really going to be fun because all their kids can go stay in the hotel. So, but it's a lovely design, a lovely property, so.
What we've also found is very consistently that the majority of the residents that do move in, the seniors want to stay in the community. Mm-hmm. They don't want to move out. If they brought up their family in Burnsville, for instance, they're not interested in, moving up to Roseville or, up to Golden Valley. And so it really is good from a housing standpoint, because it frees up housing stock within the city, and usually what we see are younger families moving in with kids, so it's good for the school system. It really serves both the younger families as well as the seniors in the city. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
the comments. Commissioners, open to a motion.
Second.
Motion by Vice President Coughlin, seconded by Commissioner Sherry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes our business of the Economic Development Authority. Ms. Acting Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Move to adjourn.
Oh, yes.
Apologize.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn, made by Commissioner Sherry, seconded by Vice President Coughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Motion carries. May I turn it over to you now?
Okay, thank you very much. And there is no other business before us, council, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Councilmember Keeley moves, and seconded by Councilmember Coughlin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming tonight.